Welcome, fellow truth seekers, to our cosmic corner of the internet. Today, we are honored to bring you a profound and transformative experience with the renowned Andromedan contactee, Alex Collier. But before diving into cosmic wisdom, we kindly ask you to lend your support. Please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon for notifications. Doing so, you help us amplify Alex Collier's knowledge and reach a wider audience. Together, let's ignite the awakening of consciousness around the world.
Sit back, relax, and listen to the entire webinar number 27, where Alex Collier covers the current stat, the intention of DNA, the Nobel Prize discoverer of the DNA code, Vietnam, Venus, the discovery of new metallics, photon clouds, and the building blocks of life coming from starlight, angels, vortexes, and the holographic universe.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to 27, webinar 27. All these sevens and ones and twos in here. So 2017, webinar 27 on the 17th of the 2nd. I don't think we could get any more 217 than that, can we, Alex? And it's time for the overture from Alex Collier. Hello. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm great. Should we just get to it? There's a lot to cover.
Yep.
Okay.
So introduce what you're going to do and then do it.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin with where I left off yesterday. The last webinar about Vietnam. There's some more things to cover there. We're going to be talking about DNA, but first we're going to be covering the Nobel Prize code discoverer of DNA. We are going to be talking about Venus for a minute or two. We're going to be talking about the discovery of new metallics, which isn't really new. We are going to be talking about photon clouds, the building blocks of life coming from starlight, and then we will get to our headline about the intention of DNA, yes, that's basically the best way to say it. Before I get to any of that, I want to just tell you up front that there will be here in the near future I will have to take some time off from doing webinars. It may be 2 weeks, it may be a month. And it's for personal reasons, and I apologize for that. But there is, at this point, no way of getting around that. Okay, so I'm letting you know up front. James and JP will know as soon as I have a schedule, okay? So I just wanted you guys to know that up front. I also want you to know that I absolutely support and am so incredibly grateful for your support, because without you, it would just be an incredible hardship. So thank you, and thank you to JP and to James for continuously supporting me, and a few of you out there, you know who you are. I don't know if I should mention your names or not, but thank you. Okay, so as you know, in the last webinar, for those of you who have seen it, we talked about some things that were going on in Vietnam. And I have some firsthand knowledge of this myself, and that's all I can say. But I received some correspondence from someone whose family is from Laos. And I want to read you this piece of this correspondence. It's very short, but it's absolutely worth noting, because there is just so much more to that part of the world and the jungles there. And if you have gone to YouTube, there are several videos where it's in Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, southern China, Thailand, in the dense jungle areas. There are videos where people have taken pictures of these very strange beings living in these jungles. Some of them are 25 to 35 feet tall. It's quite extraordinary. They almost look like stick people, but they're not. I saw a video of a being that looked identical to one that was apparently walking along apartment buildings, along the walls and climbing up apartment buildings and over roofs in Eastern Bloc countries. Quite remarkable. But anyway, to get to this correspondence. Hello, Alex. I just wanted to know that I was very excited to hear you share about other races in Southeast Asia that was encountered during the Vietnam War. My family is from Laos, and they were directly involved on the Ho Chi Minh Trail during that era. But my people have known to encounter strange beings living in Laos for a very long time now. There were 3 beings that I remember hearing about growing up that my people encountered was ape-like beings. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in Vietnam and Laos, along Cambodia, Laos, these were known to the GIs as rock apes. They were very, very muscular, about 5 feet tall, and they had a precedent for throwing rocks. Some of these apes were invited to the New York Mets spring camp for pitching, but they just didn't make the cut, unfortunately. But that's how good they were at hurling rocks, I should say. That's a joke. But nonetheless, that's what they were known to the GIs as rock apes. And they encountered them, and they were incredibly aggressive. And we're not told much about them, frankly. So, was ape-like beings, which have many stories about them. There were magical goblin-like creatures, which my own family members have encountered face-to-face, because these beings like to steal the souls of people. A lot of shamans interact with them to free the souls. Their name in our language is also very hard to mention, being it seems that they hear it when we say it. It's a cultural thing. And a being that comes with a whirlwind and is very carnivorous. I am not sure what these creatures are called as well, but I always wondered if they were real growing up. But now I feel they may be more real, as has been taught in modern America. My father also encountered very large, tall beings who he views as very beautiful. I am not sure what these beings are as well. I hope you don't mind me asking you. They are close to my family's culture, to know more about these beings, etc. Zay, I will do my best to find out. But again, here's just someone who, a listener, thank you for that, who also has, real life experience, or whose family has real life experience that he knows about. So I wanted to share that because when emergency taskers were given, or evac orders were given to go into places to pull out teams, the teams would get in the choppers and they would talk about what was going on, and they would warn the pilots, because in case they had to come back for other teams, they wanted them to be aware of what was going on so they could be careful. Now, after the war was over, there were teams that were operating in and out of Laos and in Cambodia, unofficially. Officially, we weren't there, that were going in and they were tracking POWs, they were mapping POW camps, etc. Teams were dropped on the ground often Of course, this was all black, and they would encounter some of these beings. And taskers were given to go in and pull them out immediately, right away. There were certain areas where no one would go, not even the Vietnamese. They wouldn't build camps in these areas because of these non-Earth beings, okay, who were incredibly territorial. So I just want you to know there's a lot more to this story. And it's worth noting because many of the groups that are there, the family pods of these groups, the A's have talked to other fourth density beings about what would we do with these beings, because some of them are basically unknown as to where they come from. Okay? Now, we're going to go back in time for a minute to Francis Crick. Francis Crick is an English scientist who is most noted as being the co-discoverer of the structure of DNA, along with Mr. James D. Watson in 1953. What's interesting about this is that both of them were given the Nobel Peace Prize in 1962 for physiology of medicine. Mr. Crick, at that time and continuously afterwards, talked about how they had discovered certain things within the DNA that simply weren't Terran. They weren't us. They were extraterrestrial. And they knew they were extraterrestrial, but they were continuously silenced about that for years and years and years and years and years. So I thought it was notable to mention that this goes back to the early 50s where they knew. Okay? Now, we're going to talk a little bit, we have a little bit of a Nibiru news, aka Venus news. Just in case you all forgot or thought that I had forgot. Several astronomers, professors of astronomy here in the United States, one from Rochester Institute of Technology, another from Cornell, were doing a sabbatical down in Australia. And they were there for a series of lectures, and as they were roaming around on their own free time, they wandered into a lecture from a noted astronomer down there in Australia who was talking about Nibiru. And this was in 2013. As this was going on, they were talking, they were looking at it, and they were listening, they were taking some notes, and they didn't quite know what to think of it. So for the past 2.5 to 3 years, they have been researching this on their own here. And one of the things that they have noticed recently, within the last 120 days, is that the brightness of Venus has increased 50 times its normal brightness. And they have also noticed the changes in Venus's atmosphere, which has been noted here and in other places. And they are absolutely convinced that it's because of Nibiru. And they think that it is going to be seen visibly here sometime between July and August. And I mean, you know, maybe it's because things have changed because we have a new president, a new administration. Maybe this is why we're going to start seeing more and more information about this, about what is going on, in fact, within our solar system. But these professors, they're all over it. And I will forward this article to James if he would be so kind as to put it up on the website. Now, staying within our solar system, we have something else that's interesting. Harvard University, a scientist has claimed to have succeeded in creating atomic metallic hydrogen. Now, this hydrogen is said to be metallic. It is light like plastic, but harder than titanium. Can be made in abundance. They're testing whether or not it's going to be stable. And the reason I mention this is because this isn't a new discovery. They're only telling us about it now. So let me explain. For 2.5 years, CERN has been targeting the South Pole of Saturn. And the reason for that is that the poles of Saturn move opposite each other. The North Pole goes counterclockwise. We know about that. We've seen pictures. We have seen next to Jack about the South Pole. And it turns clockwise. Well, what happens is they generate power, energy. And what's fascinating is that this energy is being contained inside a very large block of metallic hydrogen. And they know it's there. They have been trying to get to it. And for some reason, CERN has been targeting the South Pole of Saturn to try to extract some of this material and or send equipment into that area within the planet of Saturn to extract this metal. There are very large benevolent craft now blocking CERN from getting into Saturn or even attempting something this stupid. It is absolutely amazing the incredible risks that they are taking with CERN. And you have to ask yourself, exactly who is running the show here. And it's clearly not us. But nonetheless, I thought that that was important to note because it's yes, they're opening portals, but they're also doing other things with it. And one of those things is Saturn, and whatever it is that they're attempting to do to capture or grab some of this material is simply not going to be allowed. And messages have been passed through CERN to those operators of this equipment that this is not ever going to be allowed. So where it goes from there, I don't know. But I thought that that was worth noting. On another note, there is a professor of psychiatry at Harvard University as well. And she has decided that anyone who believes in Nibiru, believing in Nibiru or investigating Nibiru is now a mental illness. And, like Agent Orange, post-traumatic stress syndrome was once considered a mental illness. Abductions was once considered a mental illness. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But now a belief in Nibiru is a mental illness. And that shouldn't be too hard. Professor of psychology, Nibiru, mental illness, something should come up. Okay, I saw it yesterday. The intention of DNA. The fact that the universe as we see it, as we know it, is a holograph is pretty much beyond dispute. Even the A's say it. Many other extraterrestrial races confirm that this is a holograph and that we're living inside of a holograph. The best way to explain this is to look at the idea that, let's say we're living inside of a hard drive, and the program creates the space, okay, the space, and there are layers of storage inside this hard drive. And each layer of storage would be considered a dimension or a density, okay? When someone decides to put something in the hard drive in a specific place of storage, what happens first is they have to focus an intention, an intentional thought into a specific place. Now, for those of you who have been following Mornay and Faceas's information, I have shared this story years and years ago. There was a time and a place there they took me on Mornay's ship, and they caused the wall to become transparent. And we were somewhere in the galaxy where it was very dark. There weren't a lot of stars. There was barely anything. And I remember thinking to myself, I was standing next to Faceas, there's nothing here. And Faceas immediately looked at me and said telepathically, because he never spoke, that's because no one has focused intent here. Okay, I didn't really understand that. Let's move back to present time. He also shared with me at another time, which I shared this back in 1993, that what we look at, that everything came out of a black hole. And in 93, they talked about a frequency, an emission frequency emanating from all the black holes in our specific density, okay? And then it turned out later that there was an emanation coming out of the black holes on all the dimensions, all the way up till that particular time. I think this was the 12th. I think some of you will remember that. So here's how this works. Here's how I've been told this works. First, there's black holes on all the dimensions. They serve a very specific purpose. And it is essentially a recycling of physical matter. When a black hole absorbs physical matter, the physical matter essentially returns to its primary state, which is nothingness. What comes out in the frequency, the emission, the frequency, is in fact conscious memory, DNA memory, and whatever knowledge and wisdom had been accumulated by that which had just been pulverized, for lack of a better word. Now, why do I bring this up? Because all knowledge is already here. If you look at our level of storage in our dimension, we really have to call it third and fourth density now, because we're there. We're beyond being just in third density. We are now partially in fourth. Some are fully moving into fourth. So we're there. It's like 3.8, okay, at this point. Okay, 3.8 to 4.2 density. That's really where we're at. All the knowledge we need is here. How is that possible? Well, because that information is released from black holes and it's put back into our space. What happens is that when we as individual consciousnesses create an intention and we focus that intention, it doesn't matter where it is, it doesn't matter how it happens, but when we focus that intention, we create a gravity field. That gravity field creates a quantum wave. And what happens is you begin to pull photons, protons, atoms, which form DNA, as well as sunlight, which is paramount to this, as well as sunlight, starlight, okay, starlight. And what happens is it begins to physically manifest your intention. This is how it works. Now, physical matter that goes into a black hole, where that physical matter goes is to a lower dimension. So in other words, the matter that is destroyed in fifth goes to fourth. That which is in fourth goes to third. And what happens is the actual building blocks go from fifth to fourth. This, if you recall, God, this is so hard to explain because there's just no words. But I told you several webinars ago that there's an ecosystem to our universe, to this whole thing. There is an actual ecosystem so that nothing is ever wasted. The consciousness stays, okay? But the actual building blocks, they recycle and they go to a lower dimension. And essentially what happens is everything is interconnected. There is a symbiotic relationship between all the levels, all the dimensions. And the knowledge that we seek, the knowledge, the music, all of it is here and it's been here. It isn't that you're not creating it yourself, you are. But since forever, from the very beginning, whenever that was, the knowledge that we seek is here. It's all around us. What happens is that when we clearly focus on what we want, when we clearly focus on a very specific intention, what happens is the universe responds. You create a gravity wave first. That gravity wave will start to physically turn and it will pull to it that which it needs to create your intention, whether it be physical or not. It creates a wave. It pulls photons, protons, atoms. It then eventually creates that quantum wave of actual consciousness where it then becomes DNA. And it attracts and builds physically what it is that you want. Now, I know this is simplifying it, but I don't know how else to simplify this. But this is the power that we have. AI can't do this. No way can they do this. Physical beings that do not have conscious soul cannot do this. We do this because we are spirit, because we are soul, because we have a quantum field that goes from wherever the actual source is through the dimensions to this point here. Now, I've heard it said by some that we cannot live simultaneous dimensional realities. According to the A's, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. It doesn't mean that you're always going to have a lifetime in physical and fifth. You may have one in sixth, seventh, third. You may have one in fourth, ninth, 10th, or 11th. But you are having a physical reality, okay? It could be that your quantum field just passes through 1 or 2 or 3 dimensions because your focused intent was to experience or to explore something on this level of creation, whether it's third density, fourth density, etc., or this storage level, as I was saying earlier. But the reality of living different physical realities is a fact, according to the A's. And I trust them implicitly. Now, if you study how DNA is manifests, how it comes out of nowhere, it is absolutely fascinating. Now, let's say someone dies. You've created this intention, you have lived a physical lifetime, and now suddenly the body is gone. The body breaks down. The physical portion of the body breaks down. The DNA still exists. In fact, they say that the blood of the DNA never actually goes away. Well, what's fascinating is that even if you were to take the DNA away, if you were to extract it completely out of the physical field you were living in, the gravitational field that you first created with your intention, that pulled in all of the atoms, protons, and molecules, and then created the DNA with starlight, that gravitational field remains forever. It's still there, even if you take the DNA out. That gravitational field that you created with your intention, that field, that physical field, gravitational field, is still there. It exists continuously. Ladies and gentlemen, that's remarkable. That is absolutely fascinating. That is the power. That is the power that we have to create. Now, you have to ask yourself, if you can grasp this, if you can grasp this power that you have to manifest and create this, then you have to ask yourself, why am I constantly being told that I'm powerless? Why am I constantly being told that I have to live by someone else's rules, whether it's dogma or government? Why is it that I have to surrender my sovereignty, my individual liberty, my consciousness, my intuition, my knowing what's right and what's wrong to a higher authority? Well, the reason for that is that those controlling this reality can't maintain it. They can't physically manifest it. They are literally living off of us. So what they do is they create a reality, a conscious reality, which they get us to buy into, making it more physical so that we become more physical and more dense. Then they fill our heads with dogma and absolute horseshit, bullshit, nonsense to get us to believe that, well, this is just the way it is. This is how it is. And the more you buy into it, the more solidifying you make that reality. And what happens is we are encasing and entrapping and enslaving ourselves into a dimension that others, beings who are not us, who don't have soul, are living off of, because they themselves simply cannot create it. To be totally self-confident and free, to unconditionally be responsible for oneself, without without being coerced by some higher authority. When you look at the holograph of if you look at the entire universe as a holograph, irregardless of the dimensions, and you look at the idea that we are the ones manifesting quantum waves, we are the ones creating DNA, we are the ones creating gravitational fields that literally magnetize space for the creation of stars and light and life, and that everything we need is already here and has been here from the beginning, then, ladies and gentlemen, you have got to conclude for yourselves that we are, in fact, the programmers, unconditionally the programmers of not only our own life, but of the actual physical space in which we see and we live. It is absolutely not outside of ourselves. We're the ones creating this. We are making it manifest by our belief in it, by our focused intention on it, and by the emotion that we use to manifest this entire field, this density, this multiple densities. It's profound. It's absolutely profound. What scientists have discovered is that the human mind is so powerful that it can spontaneously form DNA out of just two elements, oxygen and hydrogen. Okay? Think about that. Okay? Think about that. And what forms first is gravity. So where there's gravity, there's consciousness, there's intent, there is focused intent, because that's what we manifest first, is a gravity field, which pulls everything else together. Now, let's move to the next piece of this. When scientists for years have been trying to discover how the brain works. And they have gotten, as technology has gotten better, they have really gotten an incredibly clear picture of how the human brain works, how the neurons fire, and how electrons in the brain move, how consciousness travels, where it's stored, how the brain grows from infancy to maturity, and also how, because of Alzheimer's and other neurological things, how the brain begins to shut down, and the neurons and the clusters of neurons and everything shut down. It wasn't until this December that an astrophysicist looked at this knowledge, this base of knowledge about how the human brain is, how it works. That he took the galaxy and a human brain and put them side by side. And ladies and gentlemen, they were virtually identical. The cluster of galaxies and the clusters of neurons in the human brain were virtually identical. And the way they work is virtually identical. We are all extraterrestrials. Okay? We are all extraterrestrials. We all have come from someplace else. And the journey of self-discovery is still the journey. It is still the journey. Now, the regressive alien groups that are here, and I don't know all of them. I don't know all of their physiology. I know that some of them are AI, which in itself is an extraordinary technology. Okay, I have to admit that. But their intentions are solely self-serving. Solely self-serving. Now, the benevolent groups, some call the galactics, their intention is to free us from this self-imposed prison, and at the same time introduce us to the idea that we are so much more. And I say this because those coming from 6th, 5th, and 4th density, they are amazed at how strong we are and our potential to create matter, to bend light. Okay? You know, the only thing that can bend light is gravity. And yet we can do this. We bend light all the time when we start creating, meditating, and manifesting with focused intent what it is that we want. The first thing that happens is you create a wave. Well, that wave is the bending of light, which creates a gravitational field, which draws all of the physical and subparticle universal things that we need in order to physically manifest physicality. That's what we do. We can bend light with our minds, with intention. This is an awesome responsibility. And yet those of us with soul can do this. They can't hide this knowledge from us anymore. Okay, because what's essentially happening is that science and astronomy are proving God, for lack of a better word. And what's happening now is that as they begin to talk about it, and you know, there's still some knowledge that they have that's still being suppressed, but as this knowledge is coming out, it is meant to empower us if you're paying attention. Okay? We're coming to a point here, humanity is coming to a point on our tiny little planet where we're going to have to make some decisions about what it is that we really want. And those decisions are going to be, do we want to move into a higher consciousness and free ourselves spiritually, physically? Do we want to take what we know to the next levels? Or do we want to stay here in 3rd density and continue to feed entities that will never have soul and that cannot exist without living off of us? Because we can't have both. Okay, we can't have both. And there's a hardcore press to try to keep us trapped in 3rd density physicality, talking about the entire poisoned food chain. I am talking about the radiation from Fukushima. There are just so many things that are all going on to try to trap us in this physicality. The decision has to be made here. This is where the decision has to be made. But in order to make that decision, you need all the information. You need to know as much information as you can in regards as to who you really are. You know, one of the oldest questions is, what does it take to change the essence of a man or a woman? And that is know thyself. This is who you are. You are literally starlight. You are literally quantum field. You are literally multidimensional beings. You are literally the benders of light. You are literally the creators of a gravitational field. This is why it is so important to find those places where you can be quiet, where you can hear your own frequency. Because when you can lock into your own frequency, when you hear it, when you know you're somewhere and you are just still inside, and you know those moments, you cannot mistake those moments. It is then, if you ask for what it is that you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, I swear to you, you will get your answers. It may not happen immediately, but it's going to come because they want you to know. Your higher selves want you to know. The Creator wants you to know. They want you to know who you are. And when you do this, you align yourself all the way up to the very top, wherever that is. I myself have had absolute glimpses of this a couple times here on Earth, and it's definitely a lot easier outside the Earth's atmosphere. I've had glimpses of that, and I'm telling you, there's the empowerment, that space of grace is the only way I know how to explain it. It's overwhelming. It's absolutely overwhelming. I'm asking you guys to create some time to do that for yourself now, because things are moving. Things are moving very, very quickly. There is an awful lot going on, not only in our solar system, but in fourth density, fifth density, sixth density. There is change manifesting everywhere, folks, everywhere. And our little planet, our little group of Patal that are here, you know, we're on a mission. We are absolutely on a mission. And I don't know all of the components of the mission, but folks, we're on a mission because right now it's all about getting our humanity to the next level. It's a game changer, okay? For us to get from where we are now to the next level, through fourth and to fifth, this is a game changer. And an enormous amount of resources are being focused here on this happening. We have to pay attention to that. Even if you don't believe it, pretend you believe it. Or just focus on you. Just focus on you, on your own quantum field, your own bending light, you manifesting and changing DNA. Then just focus on that. I don't want to sound like a broken record, because God, I hate that myself. You know, when people go on and on and on about the same thing. But we have some very critical stages of energy coming to Earth from higher dimensional realms. The end of March will be another one, July, August, then October. Humanity needs leaders. And it doesn't matter what your education, it doesn't matter your stature, it doesn't matter your standing, it doesn't matter the mistakes you've made in life. What matters is you taking responsibility and standing up and saying, I got this. I'm going to help. I'm going to be a pillar of light. I'm going to hold the frequency here, no matter how fucked up things get on the surface, created by politicians, okay? I'm going to hold the light. I'm going to do what it's going to take to make sure that we all get there. I am going to defend humanity. That's what we're looking for, okay? We're looking for knights. We're looking for knights. The Knights of Terra, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people, and you can be men or women, it doesn't matter. You can be transgender, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you make your declaration that you're going to hold the light, and that when these frequencies come in, you're going to integrate it not only into yourselves, but into the earth and into family and friends. And it's not that you have to stand up on a soapbox and do it. They will know. They will know what's happening, okay? Or they'll feel it. The idea here is to ground the intention of moving humanity to the next level. This has to happen, guys. This is a game-changing event, and we are right in the midst of it, and we're a little bit behind. Okay, we're a little bit behind. The game is getting late, and we're behind because maybe help didn't get here soon enough. So we're behind. Now everybody's having to scramble. Okay, and both the light and the dark, both sides are pulling out all the stops. They're pounding at each other. Okay. And you cannot sit on your laurels. The dark side, the regressive side, has not been defeated. They have not surrendered. I don't give a shit what people are saying. They are still fighting tooth and nail. There are a lot less of them, but now we're getting into the big leagues. Now we're getting into the actual controlling structures of planet Earth, the controlling structures of the Elohim, the controlling structures of the Nephilim, and we're getting into the reptilian and the AI groups. Folks, they're a force to reckon with, okay? It's not over. It is imperative that no one sits on their laurels, that we keep focusing positive light, that we keep expressing love, that we hold light on the planet, and that we make the decision that we will do whatever we can energetically to defend humanity. That's imperative, that we defend humanity, because we are all together in this, okay? This is not an immigration issue whatsoever. This is about humanity. And we will be judged on our compassion for ourselves, for each other. You know, when we cross over, you know, we're not judged by all of our mistakes. That's what this is all about. It's about making mistakes. We are judged on the places where we withheld love. That's what it's about. And we can all consciously make an intention not to withhold love and to ground humanity in it. I hope this was worthwhile. I do. I sincerely hope this was worthwhile. JP, are you ready for some questions?
This was worthwhile. Oh, heck yeah. Absolutely, Alex. That was stunning. So, where do we go? From Karen Moeller. Mueller. Thank you very much, both of you, for your wonderful work. My question to Alex is, you said in former seminars with you about the disappearances, oops, hang on, it's jumping up and down, about the disappearances of the moon, and it was imminent. Can you please comment a little more about what has happened on that matter since the moon appears to be still here?
It's still here. It's still here. It isn't gone. So they were wrong. They were wrong. I don't have an explanation as to why it's here. I mean, it could disappear. It could disappear at any time. But it's still here.
Maybe it'll, you know, we got an eclipse coming up. Maybe it might not happen. Anyway, from Hariyan, does Morine have a belly button or not, like Valiant Thor from Venus? And can you explain how a telepathic conversation with Morine would go for everyone to discern? And can you assure the audience you know beyond doubt you are communicating with Morine and not an imposter spirit?
Okay. Okay. I've never seen the A's naked, so I don't know if they have a belly button. Okay, they wear uniforms. That's where that goes. Okay.
They don't have pin-ups.
What?
Pin-up girls or anything like that. In the engineering room, they don't have like posters.
You wouldn't need one. The women are so beautiful. You wouldn't need a pin-up poster, frankly. All you'd have to do is stick your head out the door and look right or left.
Lovely.
So, as far as telepathic communication, let's pretend that you're a mother, and you can intuitively tune into your kids. You know when something's wrong. You know when they move into the room, what kind of a mood they're in, and that is because they are a part of you. And on a spiritual level, you connect with them because you're with them all the time. They connect with you. Both of your souls, your energies have emerged into one another constantly because they are dependent on you and you love them beyond whatever words can describe. My relationship with Morine is like that. Okay, he is more than a brother. He is more than a father. He is a friend. He is literally a part of me. So I know when it's him. I have had psychic attacks. I know when other groups have tried to fill my head with stuff through psychic attack or to try to lure me into a place where I will be in danger. I'm well aware. I just don't talk about that stuff. Okay? Because not everybody wants to hear it. You know, everybody wants to hear their stuff. They want to know what they want to know so that they can go on with their life and make their life better or empower themselves. They don't want to hear about me per se. Okay? So I don't talk about that stuff. But once you've had a telepathic conversation with someone, you'll know. You know their frequency. You know how their mind works. You know the tone of their voice when it's inside of you. You know. Other structures were put in place when I was a kid to make sure that I would always know who he is. I no longer need those structures because I do know. But then I did need those because I was learning. I was learning how to communicate telepathically. I was learning to know his frequency. I was learning to know my own, okay, at the same time. So, you know, there was a learning process that took many, many years to go through. And we're past that. We're past that stage. Okay? I wish you to have that experience for yourself so that you would know it. It's awesome, actually. It's instantaneous. It's the best wireless system that there is. You don't need the phone. You don't have to charge a battery. You can think about someone and they get it. And you can communicate. I'm sure that happens on some level to all of you anyway. You'll be thinking of someone and then they'll call. Or you'll be thinking about someone and you walk into a store and there they are standing in front of you. So you're already getting sort of that information. Okay, it's just taking it to the next level. If you have pets, practice this with your animals. Cats are very, very good with this. Cats can be very telepathic. Dogs, you have to work a little bit harder with. But you know, practice with your animals. I know people who do this all the time with their critters. You know, they walk in and they'll go into the kitchen and all they have to do is think that they're going to open up the cat food. Boom, and here they come. They already know, you know, because they get it. So, okay, next question.
All right. From Anna Balboa, and very caringly, and we understand, is there anything we can do to help Alex in his personal issues?
Just think positively. Hold the light for everyone. Just empower yourself. That empowers me. In empowering yourself, you empower me. You empower JP. You empower all of us. Okay, that's your homework.
Absolutely.
That's your homework.
Okay, another personal question from Sonia Finch. Did your parcel arrive safely from her?
I don't know. I don't know what parcel that would be. So, Sonia, can you email me at Ivanhoe1818 and bring that to my attention?
I hope so. Okay. Right, yes. Jeff, do you have any info on the announcement of the ambassador of the Inner Earth Kingdom of Agartha to speak to humanity in Garden City, New York?
You know, I have made it a point not to talk about other people's works. And I'm going to hold to that. I'm going to hold to that principle. And I know there's a lot of conflicting stuff out there. I know. I so get it. I so get it. But I'm not sitting around waiting for that to happen. Not for a minute. Am I sitting around waiting for that to happen? Okay? Do we have another question?
Sure. All right.
Along.
So, meanwhile, all right. So, weird question. No, well, not really weird question. Is there any truth to the whole Xeno, the Scientologists? Is there any truth whatsoever, or is it complete and utter? I mean, what percentage of BS did he write about?
Are we talking about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I am so not an expert on that. I am so not an expert on any of that.
All right, they got this big story. It's
an
interstellar story about a ruler called Xenu. I won't bore you with the details. I'll see if I can forward some information to you. Or can somebody send Arnaldo Lerma? Was a guest of mine, and he's the guy who blew the whistle on the Scientologists, and you have to pay $10,000 to get this story, which is just a sci-fi. Anyway, meanwhile, back in England, can Alex please comment on the current stats with the Stargate and the reptilian attempts to lift it, as I understand that they are being quarantined here on Earth and cannot leave?
That is correct. They are on total lockdown. They had a chance to leave a couple years back. They didn't. And then they persisted in being assholes. So now they're in lockdown. And now they're being dealt with. Now they will be dealt with in a very different manner, one which they will not like at all. But they brought it on upon themselves. Okay, we're at a place where there's no more excuses. The regressives have no more excuses at all, and no one's even listening to their excuses. So it's almost game over. We're not there yet. We're not there yet, which is why I cautioned you earlier. You know, we can't sit on our laurels. We have to continue to hold the light. We have to continuously bring in more light, and make a conscious intention to protect humanity with our spirit. Okay? Because we're getting to a crossroads here, where there are going to be very dramatic shifts, and they're going to happen very quickly in sequence. Events are going to happen in sequence, and it's going to be boom, 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 new reality. Okay? A new reality. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. You got to remember that most of humanity that is not awake, that is not empowering themselves, they're being used as hostages. Okay? They're being used as hostages.
From Lauren, you talked about an angel. Can you describe the physical appearance of the angel? And do you think that this being reminded you of your divinity because of your commitment to assisting humanity at this time?
Oh boy, I got goosebumps.
I'd say that's a confirmation then, Lauren, yes?
Okay, can I describe her? Her skin was a very, very soft gold color. Her eyes were brown. She had an incredible smile on her face. Her features were incredibly delicate. Do you know the actress Kate Beckinsale? She does those horrible vampire movies. Her features,
yeah, she's beautiful.
Her facial features were very similar to her, if I had to compare it to someone. Her hair was light. It was hair, but it was like strands of fiber optic light. I didn't see the wing on her left side. I only saw the one on the right side because that's the wing that came up and enveloped me. I never actually saw her hand, though she had one because it was wrapped around my waist. She held me like I was a piece of paper. Her strength was remarkable. And I felt her personal strength, her inner strength. It was just remarkable. She was so calm that I was calm, that I became calm. And once I reached that space of calm, the difference between how I felt with her and looking down at myself, it was like trying to bridge. It was like trying to jump across the Grand Canyon. The disparity was so great that I will forever be moved by that. Her voice was almost musical. Her voice was almost musical. Yes. In comparison to being with Mornay and Phaseus, in comparison to every other life experience that I have had to date, that still is the most profound experience I've had in this lifetime to date. It is still the most profound. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly. I wish it could last. I wish it could last. And it just, you know, the English language is so limited. I wish that there was a way that, you know, like what Spock does in Star Trek, you know, he does this and you see it, you feel it, you get the whole thing. I wish we could do that. And
Alex, it's happening already. Listen, there's
okay.
there's an image of Kate
Yeah, I
Kate
saw it.
Beckinsale with blonde hair, and yeah, I get that. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I'll edit that into the video as well. So back, but like what I was saying is, when you describe that, we do mind meld. We do get the download from that. You understand that loads of people here who are listening and are part of this. This is a participation thing, and we feel and download what you're talking about. Many of the questioners and listeners will get it get the vibration of you. I'm sure that.
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't even scratch the surface, though, of the actual experience. But thank you for that.
Good. Well, look, here we go. Yeah. I think we've spoken about it, and you might have been asked. You might have said we'll ask, but asked you. This is a question from James, another James, I hope. Are flat-topped mountains former huge trees that were mined out in the distant past when they took all the gold out of the planet, and when there were giants here?
It's possible. I want you to look at the idea that many of the large flat-top mountains were areas that were cut off because that's where the ships would come and land so that the gold could be loaded on board. The ships would come down and land on top of the mountains. And then the gold would be brought up using technology. They would load it. And, you know, if you're in airplanes, you can see obvious areas where you have all these mountain peaks and all of a sudden you have this perfectly flat something in the middle of nowhere. There's no roads or anything. And those are areas where the ships would land and they would load the gold or other minerals before they left Earth to take them somewhere else. That's a good question. That's a good question. Thanks for asking that.
From Fence Walker.
Fence Walker, I like that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So the question is okay. It's broken into. I am new at this. Sorry. Okay, Prince. Sorry. That's okay.
We've all been new at something. No need to apologize.
All right. So yeah, we know. All right. So Alex, can you please tell the A's that if the Star Nations need 55% or more to free us, then all they need to do is ask humanity's unconscious mind. I know that they will find that we, as a people, will ask for their help and be freed. This is why 80% of 90% of the population cannot ask for help from the Star Nations. With this in mind, please can you ask the Star Nations to ask the unconscious minds of humanity if they would like being freed. And they will all say yes. I know this.
Yay!
Yay!
I will pass that along. Fence Walker, I will pass that along. We haven't heard from Mike Kelly. So you got one up there yet?
Well, there's a Mike. I don't know if it's Mike Kelly. Well, it's a good question. Anyway, so all right, from Ingrid. I understand that the original humans from Atlantis no longer wished to serve as slaves and escaped Atlantis and moved to Lyra, which was in Oceania. Any ideas on that?
Okay. First there was Lemuria. First there was Pan, then Lemuria, then Atlantis. The Lemurian cultures, and they were a cluster of different tribes from different places off Earth, were they would be very indicative of the indigenous people. They lived off the land. They weren't into materialism. They focused on spirituality and being at one with the planet itself. And then along came Atlantis. Atlantis was very highly technical. Many technical races came because they were drawn to the idea that it was a place where star nations could come and they could trade technology as well as other different types of knowledge. Materialism was very prevalent in Atlantis, which is similar to Western society today. That's what I've been shown. And that technological, materialistic group of cultures became very indifferent to the spiritual walk of life and those who walked it. When Atlantis went down, you really could not call it a spiritual place. You really couldn't. It was very much like Western society is today. It suppressed spiritual cultures. It didn't want to hear it. Everything became about the technology, the machines. And great things were done then. Great machines were built, as you will soon find out as the ice thaws in Antarctica. But there was a real divide between the two cultures of Lemuria and Atlantis. So, that there are a lot of blinds in metaphysics when they talk about Lemuria and Atlantis. The stories that they propagate are those that have been passed down by those who caused the fall of Atlantis, but managed to survive. History is always written by the victors. So you have to keep that in mind. If you can't objectively get both sides of the story, then you really only have one side. And we don't know the full stories. We have not been given the full story of Lemuria, Atlantis, Atlantis's colonial cities, the 7 cities of Cibola. We haven't been told much about that. Much of that is still shrouded. And there's reasons for that. They don't want us to know what really happened. So there you go.
Is that for protection or for theirs?
I believe it's for theirs because they're the ones who are hiding it. If they had nothing to hide and they genuinely wanted humanity to be self-empowered and to move and evolve, there'd be no reason to hide this.
You'd think.
You would think, right? Pirates. They're all pirates.
Pirates are. Yes, long story. All right. So, hey, quick question from Maro. When's your birthday?
July 11th.
July 11th. Ah, lovely Cancer. Okay. From Lauren. Did the frequency coming out of the black holes in 93? Oh, let me show you something. You were talking about the black holes earlier.
Right.
And I saw this on a video and I thought, I've got to get one of these things. And I showed it on the show the other day. Have you ever seen one of these, Alex? Watch this.
The Slinky?
It's kind of like a slinky, but it's a
No,
vortex.
I haven't. I've seen diagrams, but no, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it physically.
Check this because it actually shows the behavior of a vortex as you go through it. Watch this. It goes. My hands are. I got the. It's someone with a thinner arm, and it'll go straight down.
Well, that's very cool. That's very cool.
It's called Flippy Flux.
And you should probably let everybody know where they can get one now.
Yeah, get one on eBay. FLIPYFLUX. And it's so simple. It's stainless steel ribbon, and it's just got one weld, and it's kind of a multiple Mobius strip.
Cool.
Beautiful thing.
Hey, listen, we got like 5-6 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, so anyway, we were talking about vortexes and your the frequency coming out and affecting all the dimensions. So there we go. Did I
To my
bump
knowledge,
into that
that's
question?
still occurring.
Yeah.
Yes. To my knowledge, that's still occurring.
All right. So from James, what was 2012 all about? It seemed like an anticlimax to many. A lot of people went back to sleep when things didn't instantly change.
I think that the hype around 2012 is really the real hype about 2017, 2018. But they'll give everybody a false narrative so that when it doesn't happen, everybody goes to sleep. And they basically do it to empower you. Because if they can get you to change your focus into something other than humanity, preparedness, spiritual evolution, evolvement, getting your house in order, when you've done all those things and you live in that space, you're an incredibly aware, self-focused, and empowered person. Now everybody has just gone back to their jobs. They're not doing anything. They've allowed themselves to be completely distracted with all this other stuff. And now that these scenarios are really beginning to play themselves out, no one's prepared. No one is even listening because they're like, that didn't happen. It didn't happen before. It's not going to ever happen. Yada, yada, yada. And if you can do that to a majority of the population of the planet, then you win. You keep the frequency low. That's, in my opinion, what I believe happened, and that's what they did intentionally. They know us very, very well. They do. The dark side knows us very, very well. Hell, they've been programming us for thousands of years. Of course they know us very, very well. Most of us have bought it hook, line, and sinker. So they brought the conditioning and the programming. So, but now some of us are breaking free. Now some of us are seeing it for what it is. Some of those crabs in that bucket are actually getting out over the edge and walking on the dock, to use an old fisherman's analogy. So it's changing. Again, how I ended my earlier presentation is we have to hold the light. This isn't over yet. We need everybody to hold the light, ground the light, and to make a conscious intention to protect humanity. Knights of Terra, the Knights of Terra.
Hopefully not terrorists. So we've got a question from Mike Kelly. We've got two, but there's a quick question. Are some of the Andromedans also Patal?
Yes. Yes.
Are a lot of the people listening to this broadcast Patal?
I'm told they are. I am told they are.
What can you say after that?
You'll figure it out. You will figure it out. I don't need to walk you there. You'll figure it out.
All right, so here on Earth, and there's another question from Mike. Here on Earth, we need to eat, right, exercise, and take supplements to deal with the poison that abounds. Will the energy waves incoming become so powerful that we will feel good, irrespective of our hygiene? Does that mean I can stop brushing teeth and hair or something? Anyway, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure he doesn't mean it exactly like that. But, you know, will there come a point when we're just kind of so effluviant with our own beingness that we just form our reality and everything else falls off as imperfection?
You know, Mike, that's an outstanding question, as most of your questions are good. Having never been through this before myself, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I'll have to not use deodorant anymore. I don't know. You had an earlier question about crystalline. Do we, as our bodies become more crystalline, do we get heavier or lighter? We become lighter, in fact. Crystalline structures in fourth and fifth density are not like a quartz crystal here now. They're totally different, okay? They're different. But again, I'm going through this just like you guys are. So I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is up. And the next group are already here. Waiting for the room. Guys, I love you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the donations. Those of you who send them, you have no idea how it helps. I have some physical challenges, and I just ask that you guys hold the light, and you do, that you empower yourselves, because that in turn will help empower me. And we'll see you next time, okay? Love you guys. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey of self-discovery and cosmic enlightenment with Alex Collier. Your support means the world to us. If you found this video insightful, please show your appreciation by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon to receive notifications for future uploads. By doing so, you stay connected with the latest cosmic revelations and help us spread Alex Collier's profound teachings to a broader audience. Remember, every like, subscription, and bell click can awaken more minds and ignite a collective shift in consciousness. We encourage you to share your thoughts, reflections, and questions in the comments below, as your engagement fuels the expansion of knowledge and fosters a vibrant community of truth seekers. Together, we can uncover the hidden truths of the universe and embark on a journey of cosmic transformation. Until we meet again, keep seeking, growing, and shining your light in the vast cosmic tapestry. If you would like to see Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we host an online seminar 3 times a month on a Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information and dates of upcoming online seminars, please visit alexcollier.org.
Please click on one of the above videos to seek more of Alex Collier's knowledge.